Hey, y'all. We recorded this episode with this fantastic guest, Tim Schmalz, like 6 or 7 weeks before it's airing. And some stuff happened.
Things happened in the last 6 or 7 weeks. Yeah.
You're going to hear about canonizations that haven't occurred.
And still haven't occurred.
And still.
Yeah.
And popes.
Popes who have changed guard
names.
Yeah.
All things.
Yeah,
Yes.
like literally, that's the hard thing about being so good at what we do.
It is. It's hard.
Really, it's a burden.
I think about it often.
You know, other things that have changed since then is I got rid of that ingrown toenail.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned on
We
the show.
didn't talk about that.
No,
I know,
well,
but there's
you've
a
told
lot
us about
happening.
You've told me about it
In
at least.
private.
Yeah, but often. Like, I'm glad you finally did something about
That's
this.
good.
What else has changed for you guys?
I grew a lot more hair, but I got it cut off so you wouldn't notice.
My grays are fading. It must be the vitamin C I'm taking. I don't know.
Grace. All right.
But if you spot any more changes, please hit us up in the comments. We'd like to know what has changed since we recorded this episode. Tell us all the things we missed.
Cue the guitar. Oh, yes, BeatiDudes. Welcome to the BeatiDudes Nation, the greatest podcast sweeping through any show that combines religion and dudes. That's us. People have described this show as inspirational, educational, as...
Wow.
Indignational.
Multinational?
Yes.
Yes. And we are going to unleash all of that on you today as you experience the BeatiDudes for this Monday show. My name is Jeff Schiefelbein. I'm proud to be one of the dudes, and I'm joined by Nick Bezner.
You just start talking and you don't know where you're going, and then I'm trying to guess where you're going, and then you throw it to me, and I'm trying to go where I'm going.
See how I can get in your head? I love it. And then I also have with me Paul Kolker.
That's right.
Me.
I thought I was going to say me.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. That's it. That's me.
That's it.
Let's keep trying. Thank you. There we go.
Did you guys see what I wrote on the board so that Tim, our guest, would know who is who?
Yeah, Nick equals eyebrows,
Yes.
Jeff equals old man, and Paul equals 14 years old.
I did notice.
Thank you for that.
It's like, it's not Whose Line Is It Anyway, but there's another show where it's just like, it's like at the back of, on Friends, the back of the whiteboard on the back of Joey's door. It's always different in every episode. It's like, you come up with a different way to describe
That's
us.
a deep cut, by the way. Yeah, good.
I was in
throwback.
here writing this earlier, and somebody was in here, a human, I can't remember which, and they're like, "What? Why did you write this?" And I'm like, "It helps." But Tim,
helps.
before we even introduce you, this helps, right?
Oh, it did. It did.
Yeah,
It still does.
Do you think I'm the 14-year-old? I'm a mature man. I'm a man.
Do you think I'm an old man or eyebrows?
Wait, I love that you said, "Do you think I'm a mature man?" We got to really get the distinctions right.
Venn diagram overlapping.
Listen,
Completely not overlapping.
I'm about to get real mature in here. We're going to get mature right now because we're going to be talking to our guest from Canada. Have we had a guest from Canada before?
I don't.
We've been international, but
I feel like our ratings in Canada are about to go through the roof.
Can't wait.
Or through the rough. What do they call it?
through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to speak Canadian. Welcome to the show, Tim Schmalz.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. That sounded almost British. Thank you.
Well, we do have that A all the time. And I don't know how that ever started, but I think it's something from the colonialism or something like that. If you're in Canada and you just go, say you're in Windsor, which is in Canada, and you go across the border, no one says A in Detroit. Everyone says A in Windsor. And yeah, there is a different accent, and it goes right across the whole basic from east to west.
Yeah.
And like roof. Am I saying that correctly? Roof?
The roof.
About.
About.
Yeah.
It's about time. And so when I'm talking to Americans, I feel like a fisherman, like a British fisherman. Like I'm going to do a jig at any second here. And then I'm very conscious of how I'm talking. Eh?
And then you say you're sorry. Is that?
Well, yeah, Canadians always do that. But the thing is, we don't acknowledge that we speak different than Americans ever until we're in America because we watch American TV. We grew up on American TV and we think we're talking like that, but we're really not.
It's a weird tone deaf thing.
Yeah.
Then you come to Texas. Do you think we sound smart?
Texas, from my observation, the limited time I'm in Texas, I think it seems so much just very similar to many other states that I've been in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that, it's the new building, the new subdivisions, the new strip malls. And I remember the first time I went to Texas, I thought everyone would be wearing a cowboy hat. Everyone, all the time.
That's just in Fort Worth.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it correct? Maybe it's the specific place you go to.
Yeah.
But when you go into the cities in like Dallas and I presume Houston and everything else, it just seems like another big city in America.
It is.
It's kind of unfortunate because we're losing our roots right now. But it's like I always imagine that every Canadian I know knows how to do all the signals for whether or not there's a fire.
Semaphore?
Mounties?
Mounties.
Oh,
Mounties.
Mounties.
What do they do?
No.
What's their
They're the
purpose?
quicker picker-upper.
Mounties.
But I think it might be just like Texas. If you go into certain areas, you see real Canada. And
for sure.
I'm sure if you go to Toronto, you would think you're basically in a very, very cold Dallas.
Yeah.
Right?
And for all of us, just so you know, there's parts when we're just driving to another big city. If we stop to get gas, our accents change because we can't help it.
Yes.
Because we don't want to get beat up.
That's right.
Well, yeah, and there is kind of a natural Texan like y'all and howdy and stuff that just slips out as well.
You ever said howdy before?
No.
We all went to a college called Texas A&M University. And there's all these traditions there. One of them is you just say howdy, like everybody you encounter. So you might say howdy 30 times between one class to the next. This is old school. I think people lost it once smartphones came in and stripped us of our howdy. But you also start every speech by saying howdy, and the whole crowd yells howdy back. And I would challenge people, and I'd challenge you when you're running around here. If you ever say the word howdy, you can't do it without smiling. Like, it just feels good.
I believe it.
My dad has personally adopted that. Even though he didn't go to A&M, he howdies everybody all the time.
And you know what? Your dad has a big old smile on his face.
Always.
I've seen it.
100%.
Yeah. So, Tim, we are very lucky to know you. This happened through our friend Dan Torpy and his wife Patty. Are they your handlers? How did this come to be?
Two great people, and
We have to say this because they're listening right now. They're literally off camera. Decent
This
human
is
beings.
one of our top 5 audiences.
very true.
I'm a little nervous today.
No, two great people, and I think that they appreciate what I'm doing or my mission with the Catholic Church, and from the get go they started to help out and in a sense promote and introduce me to some very special people.
Well, and we're going to talk about what they're helping you out with here now, because you are into.
Yeah, he's carved out a real niche for himself.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, let's chisel our way into this topic. Is that?
People say that all the time. That's the common sculpture of words that people use.
I just look at Tim and I just want to start molding this conversation and kneading it into a beautiful.
Nobody needs stone.
You need bread.
Well, you need dough, and then it becomes.
I need a lesson. Okay, Tim, we're done with that. That whatever we just did is wrong.
But you're right.
You can tell by how he's looking at us.
Oh, that's how I'm half apologizing for you.
For me.
Not full. It wasn't a full apology. Tim, you're here in Texas doing some talks at the University of Dallas,
That's right.
but you're known as a sculptor, right?
Yes.
And not only in the Catholic art, but there's a whole lot of Christian Catholic art that you've sculpted. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I describe myself as a Catholic sculptor, and that's essentially what I've been doing my whole life. And rare these days to have someone that hasn't done a variety of different jobs, different occupations.
Sure.
At the age of 22, I would say I became a professional sculptor, a professional Christian sculptor, a Catholic sculptor, and from that moment on, I haven't stopped. And I've been working seriously hard. And like my days, like I put in like 80-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks.
Jeez.
And I think about most sculptors, they're kind of when you're talking with artists, a lot of the artists think that it's all about when you're inspired, you go and create. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty much the opposite. I take it almost like a military routine. Mm-hmm. my creativity. And consequently, I've sculpted probably double what a normal person my age would be. So like I'm 55 right now, but it's almost like dog years, obsessive sculpting years would put me at 110.
Yeah.
And so with that huge amount of that library of artwork that I have behind me, when I look at a new project, I can pull something and, remember what I did 20 years ago, I'll mix that with something I did just last year. And that's the beautiful thing, or the true thing about artwork and creating. You never really do something brand new, poof, out of nowhere. It's always kind of borrowing from this, stealing from that, and making something new, right? And so I feel that time that I spent right now has set me right now at the age of 55, unlike a professional basketball player or something. I'm at my prime right now. I'm better right now than ever before, right?
Was this like a natural talent or something that you uncovered because you were trial and error in your college days? Like, how did you know you could be a sculptor at 22 years old?
When I was 16, I did a sculpture. And ironically, because I'm here talking about Dante in Dallas, but the first sculpture I did where I totally fell in love with sculpture to the point where I wanted to do it the rest of my life was a sculpture of a sleeping man with a demon coming over top.
Yeah.
And it was so cool at the age of 16 that I said, I want to be a sculptor the rest of my life.
Wow.
And then so...
It's like a school project.
It was my art school. Thank God to Mr. Caesar, because he was a real encouraging teacher.
Cool.
And all the materials were at my disposal, and I just created this piece, and it was like, for me, it was like a wow. And at that point in time, at 16, but prior to that, I wanted to join the military. I wanted to join the infantry. And there was something about me that I always wanted something really pure. Like I wanted, like being in the infantry, that's pure. Mm-hmm. You know what you're doing, your
mission.
Yeah, exactly. There's no ambiguity there, right? And I found the same in sculpture, because here you're, like you said, molding something, making something. It's in your hands. You can feel it. You can close your eyes and open your eyes up again, and it's still there. It's not a dream. It's not a thought. And so I love that materialism, and I love the idea of sculpture, and I love the great Renaissance stuff. I would just be mesmerized by it. Do you know Dante? I mean, do you know Rodin? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thinker, one of the most famous sculptures in the history of sculpture, really. It's been used, I can't tell you how many times it's been reproduced in pictures and in other forms.
Sure.
But that actually, just a little aside here, that actually was initially called The Poet. And it was initially going to be a portrait of Dante. And it was a portrait of Dante. And it was a mid-sized sculpture that was put on top of the gates of hell. And it was so popular when he created it. It was so iconic that he pulled it out, or he re-sculpted it a huge size, and it became the thinker. And now it almost has become the visual ambassador, or the visual emblem of human thought.
For sure.
Amazing. My mom gave me that a small replica of that when I was 16, and I just fell in love with the whole idea of sculpture. And then that led me into being interested in the great masters, and that brought me into history, and it was quite the experience at that age, right?
Well, so you said art school. Did you go to like specifically an art school, or was it an art class? Oh, you did.
Well, actually, when I finished high school, I got accepted to what was considered the greatest art school in Canada, the Ontario College of Art. And this was something that was like at that time, it was like, oh, could I get in? Imagine if I got in, I would be so happy. Yeah. You have to do show work,
your
have
portfolios.
Yeah. And I got in, and I was just like, now this is great. Now my dream about becoming a sculptor can be real, right?
So you got in at like 16 or something? Is that what?
No, after I finished high school. So I'm like,
normal.
So you have to. It's like a college or a university.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, just making sure I
think this whole like discipline thing of the time you've put in, like the double time versus somebody who's waiting around for that moment of genius.
Inspiration.
Yeah. Like I can remember somebody talking about where we find our passions. And it's not just because you sit around thinking, it's because you do something so much that you can go above the challenge, right? You can have the challenge, have the breakthrough, have moments of mastery, and then you're becoming an expert, and that expertise kind of fuels it to become passion. And so
that's right.
I think your approach is the materialistic.
Militaristic.
Thank you. That's a terrible word.
Militaristic.
What?
We need
from the military.
Yeah. From your regimented approach.
You want to sculpt me trying to say that with that look on my face.
Would be another version of the thinker.
Yeah.
Still trying.
Trying to think.
Scratching his head.
But like that leads to passion because you're an expert in something. And it's not just because you have it, you molded it.
Yeah.
I think with creative stuff, whether it be creative writing or even philosophy, which I think is very creative as well.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of obstacles in the way, and I think that our culture, our mainstream culture right now, wants us to be passive consumers of other people's creativity.
Yep.
Because that's making money for them, right? You're buying tickets, you're connecting to, you're paying for things, right? And so I think our culture kind of discourages the idea of creating, inventing, and having that mind. So much so that I think that one of the biggest people that you have to convince that you're an artist or what you're doing is worthy is yourself. And that's the first. And I was just talking to some of the students at the university here about what I started doing when I was in my early 20s doing sculpture. I would actually keep a logbook, and I'd write down, I'd punch in and punch out when I was sculpting.
Yeah.
And that was for me to see and to kind of prove myself that I'm a bona fide actual sculptor, because here's the proof. I sculpted 30 hours this week, right? And it also kind of made me watch about kind of shutting down other parts of my life, which I think you have to if you really want a goal. You can't do everything. You can't go out with your friends all the time, going out partying and everything like that. And to aid that, what I would do is I would, when people would ask me, what are you doing Friday night? I would say, I'm working. Because if I would say I'm sculpting, I'm doing artwork, they'd say, oh, come on then. Yeah. What are you doing? And I was just talking to the young students here today, and I said, a lot of people would put more seriousness in their job working at McDonald's than writing their own poetry or creating their own masterpiece painting.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest obstacles that one that wants to create has to, is that, because the whole world, and even their close family members, they're not even aware of it, but they're pushing it away. They're saying, no. But if you got a McDonald's job, you're 5 minutes late. Stop everything. Go to your job.
Yeah.
Get your uniform on, right? So I think that early
it's
in
profound.
Yeah, and it's just I think the problem, one of the biggest problems about people embracing their own creativity, and so what I do, well, I'll just move into the second part of what I wanted to talk about that was very important, is that also I think that creativity is stopped if it's too self-absorbed. And well, here's what happened with me. I stayed at the Ontario College of Art for 3 months, and I dropped out because what I saw and what I was being taught didn't warrant someone sacrificing their life for. And I was all in on the idea of artwork.
Yeah.
But what they were trying to present to me as artwork, it wasn't worth someone's focus for their whole life. And that was a ridiculous game. The mainstream world of artwork. The ridiculous game is, if it's not shocking, it's not artwork. If it's been done before, it's nothing. It's not even artwork. And so all of these ideas of what constitutes artwork today were really opposite to my initial intuitive love for artwork. And I looked at the other artwork, and I played the game like I did it perfectly. Yeah. I knew what to do. I'll give you one example. I have a picture of it here, but you don't need a picture. I had a canvas, and I had garbage bags, and the black garbage bag. And I made a collage of a lady out of black garbage bags. The piece was called Bag Lady. Isn't that clever, right? And it is clever. And it's, it looked like something that you would see in any New York gallery and everything. So I thought, that's a feather in my cap. Another one was, and this is the artwork that I was doing, a paint by number Jackson Pollock set. Jackson Pollock, for the people that don't know, is a splatter painter, one of the most abstract painters, the drip painter. He would just splash paint around and everything. So I took a canvas and I projected with an opaque projector, very famous drip painting by Jackson Pollock. I traced every little contour. I number coded them, and then I put a paint by number set stapled on the bottom. Huge canvas, like a 10-foot canvas. I was so proud. I thought, yeah, this is right on top of everything. And then my art teacher started to laugh at me one morning coming in, holding an Art in America magazine. And I'm like, what's so funny? And then she shows me the page that was open. Andy Warhol did the same thing I did, a paint by number set of an abstract painting in the 1960s. I thought, oh my God, it's all done in vain. It's useless.
Yep. Ecclesiastes right there, right? And nothing new under the sun.
I had to rationalize it that I can use the material and make a new piece, because the moment I realized something was done similar to it, it became garbage.
Yeah.
And then
that's frustrating.
Yeah. And then I thought, well, what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
And at that point in time, it
30
was
30 seconds ago, you were like feathering your cap.
Yeah.
Now you're like deflated.
And so the way I describe it is it's a game. Whoever slaps the buzzer first wins. And it doesn't matter what the artwork is representing. It is just basically whoever does the most shocking, most outrageous thing wins. The ironic thing is shocking has become boring in our culture. And at this point in time, I quit Ontario College of Art and I went through an artistic conversion where I rejected all the modern artwork and I just started doing sculptures of Jesus and saints. And
it's pretty shocking for some people.
Oh yeah. At the age of 22. Yeah. I said, forget it. I'm not doing any more of that. And the amazing thing is when I first did representation of Christ, I felt it. I was so absolutely happy.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so I just realized at that point in time, that's what I wanted to do. So it wasn't art that I was frustrated. That's not the reason why I broke up with the art school. It was because what they were representing. Yeah. And then so it took me decades after to understand and deeply understand why I love Christian artwork, why I love Catholic artwork. And I'm still learning that now. It's amazing. And I think that, well, basically, great artwork, in order to do an epic piece of artwork, you need an epic subject matter. Yeah. And the artwork itself is just a veil that goes over top of an amazing subject matter. And the thinner that veil is, if it's transparent, it's good artwork. If you can see the subject matter, it's great. If your style or whatever obscures you from seeing what you're actually representing and what you're sculpting, it's bad artwork. And I think, and so when you understand that the beauty of artwork, that the power of artwork just comes from the subject that's being represented, then you understand the connection between spirituality and artwork, and you can become a better sculptor if you understand the scripture better. Not necessarily if you get your ability to do ringlets of hair better. Yeah. And that's what I find with my artwork. I'm always combing the Bible. I'm combing the lives of the saints to find that eureka sculpture that will stop people in their tracks and make them think about the gospel, right? Yeah, so it's a fascinating journey. It really is.
Imagine spending 7 days in the wilderness with the BeatiDudes, experiencing God's glory in the new evangelization.
Sounds amazing.
Well, that's not going to happen because we're not going. But there are these expeditions through CORE expeditions that you can go on. What's CORE?
CORE is an outreach of Wyoming Catholic College called Catholic Outdoor Renewal. They get you out into the wilderness where you can encounter God away from all the crazy clutter of our current age.
Bye-bye, cell phone.
COR, coreexpeditions.org.
The new evangelization.
So you're saying it's more about trying to capture the mystery than it is about expressing my personality in the midst of the painting. Because you're saying try not to let the style get in the way of whatever the subject is, right?
Precisely. I feel that if you're a Catholic sculptor like I am, you're kind of the visual advertising department for the Roman Catholic Church.
That's good. Yeah.
And it's a kind of a self-appointed thing, but I think you really feel it. And then what you want to do is you want to put a face of our faith as authentic as possible so other people can see. So it becomes a vehicle for conversion. And if you do a shitty job on it, people are going to think that what you're representing is useless.
Yeah.
And so the tension, the stress, is there. Is how can I take this saint, for instance, and present, like my favorite saint, Saint Padre Pio? How can I represent him in a way that a 17, 18-year-old will want to learn more about that saint or want to learn more about Catholicism? So I love Saint Padre Pio. I just mentioned that. I've done several different sculptures. Actually, I've just finished one right now, but one of them I did a couple years ago was Saint Padre Pio strangling a demon with his one hand, and in heaven his fist ready to smash him in the head. A demon, right? And the cool thing about that is that's what he did. He fought demons. Yeah. But then you look at so many of the different representations of St. Padre Pio, and unless you love the guy like I do, they're going to be invisible for you. Yeah. You're just going to walk through and not see it. And so what I'm trying to do with my artwork, which I feel the duty of me is to bring other people that usually wouldn't want to know about St. Padre Pio, to get that curiosity, to get that excitement. And that goes with the great saints. And it also it goes with scripture, right? And that's my motivation. And it's it's several lifetimes of work for me to do this, right? So
I love hearing all this. One thing to share that maybe some people won't find serious, but I do, is the way that you broke up with the art school is the way I broke up with most of my girlfriends, where I'd say, I'm not breaking up with you, I'm breaking up with what you represent. It went over really well.
Yeah.
I'm sure it did.
I can see that.
It's not you.
It's not you.
It's not you. It's the idea of you.
Tim, you have, do I call them installations, sculptures? They're all over the world. Like, where are some of the strangest places, or the places that you're the most, pride's not the right word, but like maybe even awestruck that your sculpture ended up there?
Well, let me just tell you, this year, we're early in on this year, and the Cardinal of Hong Kong just commissioned 10 of my sculptures to be placed in 10 different areas in Hong Kong.
What?
Yes. And it's just like, whoa, this is absolutely amazing. Because there's going to be one at the cathedral. There's going to be, and so last time I was in Hong Kong, I'm scouting out 2 of the locations, 3 of the locations. The cathedral was one where these pieces are going to go. And it's just absolutely amazing. Wow. You know why? Because it's the other side of the world. And there you are in China, and they don't have that exposure to Christianity as much as we do. And now there's going to be these 10 bronze sculptures being placed, and they're on the street, my friend.
And those things are going to outlive you by a long shot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The bronze sculptures that I do, they last ad infinitum. It's just like the Statue of Liberty. They know more about the Statue of Liberty than any other sculpture on the planet because it's so important symbolically. And they've done tests on it. I just recently read a book about the details about it, a lot of technical engineering stuff, right? But the thing that captured my interest was that the Statue of Liberty is like paper thin. It's like, millimeters, I don't know how much that is in inches, but it's only like 3 millimeters thick.
Yeah, we know millimeters. We know 3 millimeters. That's very, very thin.
Yeah, it's super thin. And guess what? It's safe for another 1,000 years. And that's near the salt water and everything like that. Right, you think about it. And so the cool thing about Catholic artwork and bronze is you have 2 things that are you have things that warrant a message that will and an art piece that will last.
Yep.
And yeah, definitely. When I'm working, I'm very conscious of how finite my life is, dealing with this eternal scripture, and also dealing with bronze that's going to last more than 1,000 years, right? stress is on, pressure is on. You better do a good job,
Yeah.
Tim. Even your mistakes are going to be cast forever. Yikes.
I feel like you're known for a lot of things from people that know sculptures and that know Catholic artwork. You know, the minute that I was reading a quick message from Dan Torpy and it said the homeless Jesus, I remember the first time I saw homeless Jesus statue was in Cleveland, Ohio, downtown. Am I right? Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My buddy Tim Needles had something to do with making sure it was put there. You know Tim?
Hello.
He's amazing. I mean, literally, that was my introduction to Catholic Jesus about 8 or 9 years ago, was Tim Needles in Cleveland.
Homeless Jesus.
Yep. What did I say? Catholic Jesus.
Well, it's interesting because Tim Needles is a great patron of mine.
Yeah.
And he, in Cleveland, he was the patron for the first Matthew 25 sculpture in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And that is the Jesus sitting cross-legged with his hand out. Some people, I call it hungry and thirsty.
Yeah. When you saw me. Yeah.
And then all the rest, when I was in prison, when I was sick, that's
Yeah.
at the hospital in Cleveland, all the rest were installed. But it was him that started that. And then all the rest of them filled up the whole city, which is
love it.
amazing. Yeah.
How many homeless Jesus statues are out there in the public?
No,
A lot.
I can't even tell you that right now because it changes almost every day. Right now, I just this is really cool. But I just shipped one over to Edinburgh, Scotland, St. Mary's Cathedral. They're putting it right in front of their cathedral. I mentioned the one in Hong Kong, and that's really cool. But this is great news, and I can't believe you mentioned Tim Needles because
Yeah.
I just met him last week, and Tim Needles is a patron of a new homeless Jesus, which is going to be installed at the final end of the Camino
No way.
way. You get it.
No way.
Yes. You get when you do the Camino, there's at the final part, there's a little parkette you go into where there's an office where you get a little certificate that states that you actually walked the Camino. And 500,000 people, 500,000 people go into that office every single year.
Yeah.
They want to put the homeless Jesus. Tim Needles came up and said, I will be the patron for that.
God bless that man.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
powerful.
it's really cool. Yeah.
Did you have a gift for us?
Jeff. Jeff is great at transitions, by the way.
Well, you know,
Legit question.
this is a big transition because it's a gift that's very, very symbolic and very much connected to my trip here.
Okay.
Because although I've created so many different representations of Jesus and other saints, there has been a passion of mine for years, and that is to celebrate and promote the idea of Dante and the Divine Comedy.
Yeah.
And so what I just, and this is part of the reason why I'm here, is because I want to have these Dante sculpture parks being created for different places around the world.
Awesome.
I love Dante, and one of the reasons why I love Dante is because just like artwork is a great entranceway into Christianity, and it has been used that way for many years. You know, when people were illiterate in the Middle Ages, the stained glass, the artwork taught them, in the sense that was their books. People are literate now, but they oftentimes don't have the time to read. And so what I thought is to have these visual interpretations, visual translations of the Divine Comedy out there so people can read with their eyes and experience Dante and hopefully move towards actually picking up the book of the Divine Comedy and actually understanding Christianity through him would be a great, great benefit to the world.
Well, I didn't mean to gun jump then because I know the Friday show we're going to go deep into Dante, but I always like to show off stuff as soon as we can. What? Look at this.
So this is one of the 100 cantos. It's a small little replica of one of the large canticles.
Right now.
Oh, okay. And I wanted to give this as a gift to you.
That's well, it can replace the fact that we have random bronze statues of animals.
Yeah, or you can get the Rubik's Cube.
That's right. There was a Catholic magician that actually put that in there for us. So there's a reason.
Oh,
so listen, Wolf, it's been a great ride, but you are not Catholic. We've figured it out.
Was that Romulus and Remus down there? No, that's just a wolf. I thought it was Rome. No, okay.
Just that would make better sense.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, no, this is,
we'll go with that.
this is
I could sculpt them there.
This is a Duran sculpture. Hungry like the wolf. I'd love to see
Hold on. Amazing.
Okay, and do you know which number this is in the 100? Like
it's
a whole
Canto
story.
1. And
this is
midway
number
through
1.
life, I found myself in a dark forest, and that's a.
Oh my goodness!
It
says
how
1 right there. I got it.
Yeah, that's how the Divine Comedy starts. In fact, the larger version of that, the week before the 700th anniversary of Dante, I presented the large version of it. I gave the large version up to Pope Francis, who loves Dante, by the way. And so it was an amazing experience working and studying Dante visually, sculpting it. You can read Dante, but it's another thing actually sculpting Dante.
How do you, I know nothing about bronze sculpture. How do you sculpt this? Like, you heat it up and then what? Like,
oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Need it.
That's it. You just described the whole process there.
Good job, Jeff.
Well done.
It's like dough, and a rolling pin helps. Like I use my mother's when I do the bronze sculpture.
Sure.
But you can give the real answer.
Yeah.
It's the process is so elaborate. But ironically, the process hasn't changed for thousands and thousands of years, except we got electricity now. But it's essentially you create the piece out of clay, and then you make a mold. And then you pour in the bronze into the mold.
Got it.
Chip away the mold, and there's your sculpture. But I'm just.
Sounds real easy the way you said it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So you're sculpting clay.
Give it a try.
Bronze is the.
Yeah, you're sculpting clay, and the great thing about that is you can work fast.
Yeah.
I did stone and wood sculpture in my previous years, and what I find with both of those materials is they take a lot of time. And if you go to Rome, you will see some amazing sculptures, but don't kid yourself. You had crews of people working on them.
Got it.
Crews. You'd have specialists in hair. You would have the finishing off people. You'd have the roughing out people. But what I find fascinating, and I challenge anyone to look at Rome and look at the beautiful artwork that I do in Rome and think about one thing. They didn't have electricity.
Yeah.
And I oftentimes think when my studio up in Canada is freezing and my hands are getting chilled, I oftentimes think about, at least you have lights, right? And not candles, right? And it's just fascinating. And you look at those cathedrals and they're just awesome. And then to think what primitive lack of electricity situation they were in to do these, right? And it's like, oh my God, this is awesome, right? But when I oftentimes think about the cathedrals, and I think about my artwork, because the people that were working on the cathedrals were oriented spiritually. That the artwork was just the superfluous curtain that goes on top of their spirituality and gives the form of the cathedral or of the art piece. They realized that they would never see the completion of those cathedrals. And they knew they were doing it for the greater glory of God. And it's really fascinating, my experience about doing sculpture and feeling the same way, that, like I mentioned before, you need to do something that is epic in order to have an epic piece of artwork. And those cathedrals, I think it's the same way. You had a culture. You had not only the workers, but the whole community had such strong faith, and that's why those pieces exist. And so, although they look, they're massive, I look at them and I say, that's faith. That's massive faith, beautiful
faith. That's hard for us to comprehend because we just want gratification and
we want the now.
Likes.
We want the now.
When you do those homeless Jesus, that's a huge. There's one at our parish. We go to St. Anne Parish in Capel. There's one there My question is that the same process of the mold, then you're putting the bronze in there and you're getting something out that big, all in one big chunk?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now I'm working on
the strongest man I know.
I'm working on a piece for the Vatican Observatory in on the margins of Rome, Castle Gandolfo at the Papal Summer Palace. I don't know if you've been there. No,
but everybody from UD talks about it like it's the second
that's
home.
Close to. Yeah, it's absolutely very close. But this is going inside the Vatican Observatory space. They have a beautiful terrace, and they're going to be putting. It's a 30-foot sculpture, right? But it's a puzzle. When I do it in clay afterwards, all the heads are removed, all the hands are removed, and it's hundreds and hundreds of pieces. Those pieces are cast separately, welded together.
Wow.
And so it's a massive project to do something very big. If you imagine a life-size person, a person like yourself, that's a 2-pour cast. Your belt line will be the bottom. Your belt down will be the one cast. Belt up will be the other, and then you weld them together right on the seam of the belt because that's a horizontal line.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can hide the welding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when
That's why I wear a belt.
Yep.
So when you're dealing with a nude figure, say Jesus on the cross, you're working at that belt line, so you get the top and the bottom, right? You've probably seen the corpuses done in wood that have a massive seam on the arm, which looks horrible. That's you don't do that. You try not to do that, right? But yeah, it's a massive foundry project to do a piece, and when I don't really do all the pouring myself, and I realized that when I was in my 20s, I was my first studio was 500 square feet. And I slept in my studio for 4 years, living in there. And as soon as I had a little bit of money, I didn't get another apartment for myself. I kept sleeping on the bench, but I hired mold makers because if I'd hire mold makers to make the molds of my sculpture, I could make more sculpture. Yeah. And the problem with a lot of people is they want to do everything, and then so they do 2 or 3 pieces a year. And how I feel about spirituality and artwork is you do not know when a great piece is coming. And some of my greatest pieces, I never knew that they were awesome till afterwards. I mean, all I know is that if I do more and more sculptures, I'll have a better chance of hitting one of those.
What's a good example of a great piece that maybe you didn't know going into it?
Oh, let's say... one of my favorite pieces is a representation of Padre Pio. I have Padre Pio at a confessional, life-size, and I have the bench on the other side that someone could sit on that other side.
I think I've seen a picture of this.
And the window, when you think you're going to look through to see Padre Pio's face through the confessional window, you see the face of Jesus, and you see the hand of Jesus reaching out. Oh, you've not seen that?
No.
Oh.
I thought I had, but as soon as you said that, I've never seen that. I'd remember that.
So you look at it, right?
Oh, man.
And then another one, an example, is I said to myself this one time, I said, the Last Supper, it's on velvet paintings. It's everywhere. It's in our culture. It's part of our culture, right? And I thought, well, I'm a sculptor. I should do my Last Supper. And then so I got everything ready. And only then, when I started thinking, okay, I'm going to start doing my Last Supper, did I create the Last Supper like I did, which is Jesus at the Last Supper on a horizontal table, just like the Da Vinci horizontal table, with 12 empty seats. And when you see it, it's really haunting, because if you see it when no one's there, it's a forlorn beckoning. It's saying to everyone, Jesus needs you, right? You need to be the apostle of Christ today. But when kids are having their lunch around there, it's another meaning too. Yeah. So, and I never knew that before I came into it. But if I started doing wood sculpture full time, say I did 25 years of sculpting, right? I'd only be able to do 10% because of all the, difficulty about the material. Yeah. So it would be like, instead of sculpting 25 years, I would have sculpted 3 years. Yeah. Right. And so I love playing with clay and then creating bronzes. And then if I do have a bronze piece like the homeless Jesus, boom, it can go everywhere in the world. And then it's like evangelize. It's like before they had the printing press, the Bibles, right? I don't want to be that guy with a parchment sitting there going insane, doing little rabbits eating. I don't want to be that guy, right? I want the printing press, right? And so if I do find like the Padre Pio, that's in Limerick, Ireland. That's in Tanzania now, and it's also in Castel Gandolfo, Rotondo, the
San Giovanni Rotondo.
Exactly, and then it's also in United States, and so there it is. That if you really believe, like I do, that sculpture is just another form of evangelizing, like St. Francis said, preach everywhere you go, and if necessary, use words. Well, this is another way of preaching. Then you want as many as possible out there if they're good, right?
For sure.
And so time and effort put into something of this size, about, for the audio only people, like half a piece of paper. Like this size, you're spending what, 40 hours, 10 hours, 400 hours? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's hard to for me to quantify how much time I spend on each piece, because in my studio I'll usually have around 6 pieces going at one time.
Always going, yeah.
And then I'll work 2 hours here, and I think I'm sick of sculpting after a long day, but it's only I'm sick of sculpting on that one piece. And then so, I got renewed energy because I'm moving to another subject, right? But usually it's probably around 50 hours for a life-size piece.
Okay.
But sometimes it goes fast, sometimes it goes slow.
Sure.
Right?
Hi, it's Paul Kolker from the BeatiDudes here, and I just wanted to share with you guys that I also, outside of the show, perform improv comedy on a regular basis with a group called Divine Comedy. So what we do is we come up with everything on the spot, so whether you're looking for faith-filled, fun, family-friendly comedy for your youth night, or whether you're looking for clean comedy for your corporate event, Divine Comedy can perform for your group and even get you in on the action. So if you'd like to hire us to come out and perform for your next event, check out DivineComedyImprov.com. Divine Comedy, an inferno of fun.
Nick, when it comes to investing, I just feel like money and morality don't always line up. What's the answer?
Often that's the case, but our friends at Aquinas Wealth Advisors have a really great solution. It's called the Faith and Finance Score. You go on their website and you put in your info. They tell you where you're invested and where it doesn't actually line up with where you want to be.
So you mean I don't just have to funnel money towards a retirement fund where I don't know what it's investing in?
That's right, you don't. And you don't even have to give up or sacrifice returns. You can get both.
So just get on the computer, and I type in the website
AquinasWealth.com. It takes longer to type than it does to get your faith and finance score.
Thanks, guys. Great job, Nick.
You betcha.
You know what I think is hard about starting a business? Healthcare, for crying out loud. It's expensive. It's intimidating. At the end of the day, you're probably paying for stuff you don't even agree with. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
I knew you could. So what we did is we started working with Solidarity Health Share. Totally different. These folks are aligned with us morally and ethically. And even the structure from a cost perspective works for us as we're launching businesses, as we're growing our families. And I don't know if you know this, but a couple times my kids went to the hospital in the last 2 years.
They sure have.
Yours?
But Solidarity has walked with us through all of it, including some crazy stuff for Benny Pro, my little boy. So all of this to say, I would encourage anybody out there thinking about their own business, their own needs, check out Solidarity Health Share for a better alternative to regular healthcare. So check out learnmore.solidarityhealthshare.org/BeatiDudes.
So is that part of what allows you to do that kind of militaristic, regimented routine, is because you know you have 6 or 7 pieces, and so if you kind of run out of gas mentally or creatively, right, if you're running out of energy on that one, you're able to then pivot, and that's what lets you sculpt for 80, 100 hours a week?
Yeah, I also set up my studio and I do this, and why not? I consider it like a chapel. Why not? Why call it a studio? If I can consider it like a chapel, and I can just squeeze a little bit more spirituality out of it, then it's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll for around 5 years I've listened to the Bible on repeat as I sculpt it. like at least 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right. I'll listen to classical music sometimes in the morning. Up in Canada, there's a nice French classical station, but even I get sick of that. But what I don't get sick about is listening to the gospel. So I'll be on repeat.
Yeah.
And then I'll also take some time off every 30 minutes and I'll exercise, believe it or not, and I'll pray. And I'm not always there mentally. It's not like I'm all 100% on my sculptures or 100% of whatever I'm doing. My mind could be drifting here, drifting there, but it doesn't matter. I think another thing about people is with artwork and their spirituality is they hold it so sacred and they want it to be perfect. And if it isn't perfect and sacred, they throw it out and they stop doing it. And that's what I've seen people that I think it's a beautiful art piece. They crumple it up. And also I think that prayer, sometimes it's difficult, but I plug through even though I might only be 10% there. And I think, well, who cares? It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And it's perfect example of the Bible. Like I more than 4 years, I've been listening to the Bible on repeat. And I think that I'm the only person in the world that has listened to the Bible as much as I have, because other people have other jobs. But for the last 4 years, 8 hours a day, New Testament on repeat, right?
Which version app, how are you taking it in?
I'm old school. I have a CD.
What does that mean?
A CD.
I'm just kidding. I'm old school. I like CDs.
And so I'll put it on repeat and I'll listen to it all day long, right? And it's kind of like audio wallpaper in my studio, but why not?
Yeah.
And, the fascinating thing is I could be there for the third, fourth hour listening to that same, I'll take one CD, put it in, and then on repeat that one. Next day I'll take another one because I don't want to be redundant here. So every day I'll put a new CD and put it on repeat, right?
Yeah.
But the fascinating thing is sometimes, whoa, something hits you after the third hour. And that happened with me with Hebrews 13:2, be welcoming to strangers, many have entertained angels unawares. I must have heard that 1,000 times, but one time I felt it. And I stopped what I was doing. I thought, I have to do a sculpture of this. Wow. I searched out all the other sculptures that were done from Be Welcoming to Strangers, Many Have Entertained Angels Unawares on the internet. And I found zero. And I thought, what is this? A blind spot? No one sculpted? This is poetry. This is one of the most profound things that I've heard of. You have a coffee cup with it on, right? You have a plaque. And then I thought, I'm going to do a sculpture of this. It took me 4 years to figure out a sculpture, how to do it. And it was actually my meeting in the Vatican with Cardinal Czerny after the new Department of Migrants and Refugees came up. He said, Tim, I want you to do a brand new sculpture for our department at the Vatican. And I said, well, I have a lot of sculptures that will fit your department already. Yeah. And he said, no, I want you to do a new one. And so I went back to my studio in Canada. I sat down, boom, Be Welcoming to Strangers just fell in my lap. The whole idea of having a ship with an angel in the crowd in the center so you could only see his wings, so the wings become everyone's wings. It just unfolded with me. But I have to say, it was that repetition, and it was the scripture that came upon me at this one time. Yeah, so I'm all for the idea of repetition, right?
Awesome.
I've listened to like Bible in a Year twice and other things, and one time was inspired because it got to the Sermon on the Mount, and that's when I found out about a little game we want to play with you called
Blessed are the joke makers, for they shall inherit the points. 116 points. We play a little improv game here.
That's right.
You didn't know this was coming, did you?
No.
You'll understand, kind of.
So the way this works, we've got a character card that I've already drawn out, and I'm trying to pull out a Catholic card game card here, and we have to answer the prompt on the Catholic card game card as this character. And you award, what is it, 116?
116.
116 points. You get to award them all to whoever's performance you enjoyed the most. So it's like art, but less good. So the character that we all have to become is as an aging beauty queen. Leading adult faith formation is difficult because of blank.
Oh, Tim. Wow. I know you're doing all this beautiful sculpture just like I was beautiful as I was doing my stuff as well as art. And, well, anyways, I just was asking maybe if you could help me transform this song that I love into a beautiful sculpture, because leading adult faith formation is very difficult. But I think if I could turn this song into a sculpture, it's, Lord, I need you. Oh, yes, I need you. And maybe we just need the Lord all the way into being on the crucifix for everybody in adult faith formation. I'm beautiful.
That turned into Bobby Boucher.
Now they're going to go, and at the end, you award me the points. Is this how this works?
Or you pick one of the other two, depending on who you enjoy.
But they actually have to go. I'm the bold one here. I'm like a militaristic person when it comes to doing
Jeff,
improv.
Stop campaigning for yourself.
Leading adult faith formation is a little difficult because a lot of the adults think that they know how to express themselves and that they want to express themselves, and they're not really paying attention to the subject. I want them to focus on the subject that's even more beautiful than I was in my heyday.
Pass. I'm out. I cannot do this.
You can't do that.
I got nothing.
You can't do that. I have another one.
I yield.
Can I go twice?
Sure.
The other one I was going to do was, and I didn't know what was going to come up, but I wanted to do this whole bit for you about how I need you, as I'm your sales rep, to send me out there, because we are going to be selling these Padre Pio sculptures to people. And what my pitch is going to be, listen, all I need you to do is to buy, and then I will locate them where you need them. Buy, locate. I'm your sales rep. I'm here to help you. How can I get you through this? You know that's awesome.
So good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Bro, so you have to give away 116 points, and everybody can still be friends afterwards, so don't put too much pressure on yourself.
It's purely your decision.
But you have to do it. You have to give away 116 points to one of the three of us. I think he's
probably
would be a
not
very
me.
weird choice. Tim,
What is happening?
one of us is about to get 116 points because you thought that our answer was a great answer. That's all that's happening.
It's a game we play on every show with our guests.
Yes.
Tim,
We didn't really set that up
welcome
very
to
clearly for
Texas.
you.
Welcome to Texas.
It has almost nothing to do with
It actually has nothing to do with anything.
We made it have something to do.
I love the cigarette. That was really nice there. That was good.
Is that a win?
Is that a win, or are you giving it to Jeff still?
No, I kind of preferred yours.
I cannot believe this.
Yours was good though. But
Oh my
All because I
goodness.
encourage smoking on a Catholic podcast.
That's right. All right. For being our celebrity guest judge today, you're going to get St. Blaise socks from sockreligious.com.
oh, thank you.
Those are yours
I
to
love this.
take back with you.
I love this.
Absolutely. The blaze came from the fire stick of Paul Kolker there. And you know what? I just want to put a teaser out there that on the Friday episode, we're going to be talking about Dante. And so you need to stick around for that one. We're going to get to he's going to plug in the commercial break somewhere else earlier in the show.
Sure.
But let's go back to one last piece of this, like before we get into Dante on Friday. You got a big event coming up here with the canonization of Blessed Carlo Acutis. Tell us what is going to be going on for you in the Holy Land, in Rome, not the Holy
In
Land.
Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Assisi.
And in Assisi. Yeah, I want to hear this.
Well, this
one.
is really absolutely amazing. It all kind of started out at the National Eucharistic Congress. I don't know if you were there or not.
They
but-
brought in the BeatiDudes to be on the podcast stage.
We were there.
Excellent. Well, I was there, and I was the official sculptor.
Oh, that's bigger than us. I actually saw your stuff when we walked by.
I remember this now.
It's,
Yeah.
not, it's not a competition.
I
You
started
win,
like
we
it was
lose,
competition,
blah.
but we were there.
Yeah, it was awesome, and
That was awesome.
I was sponsored by Legatus to be at the stage doing a sculpture, and I could sculpt whatever I wanted. And I thought, the National Eucharistic Congress, what should I do? And I thought, a portrait of Blessed Carlo Acutis. And so the period of time I was there, I was involved in forming out of clay a representation of Carlo Acutis, which was an amazing time. I finished it in my studio, but that started my relationship with Blessed Carlo. Cool. And the more I started to research, the more I fell in love with the guy, and I realized, and it's fascinating because I do realize, or I do believe that we need new pieces of artwork out there. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the priest every Sunday does a new homily. And our artistic homilies have to be sharp and have to be, in a sense, there to rejuvenate our faith. But that's what the saints are too. When you get a new saint, right? Yeah. And I love that fact that the Catholic Church is growing with these saints all the time. And when a saint like Carlo Acutis comes, and I'm sculpting Carlo Acutis new, it's really like a double benefit there. New artwork, new saint, great way to celebrate. So I finished the piece I did at the National Eucharistic Congress, and it's going to the Vatican. Archbishop Fisichella, head of the new evangelization for the Vatican, and also the engine behind the Jubilee, is going to give that sculpture to the first church in Rome that takes on the name of Saint Carlo Acutis. Oh, awesome. And that's amazing. So that was one of the first pieces. I'm also doing a piece for St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Church in Vegas. They're building an amazing, beautiful shrine for Carlo Acutis. Cool. I'm also doing 2 pieces for Assisi. And one of the representations of Blessed Carlo is going to go very close to his tomb. And these are outside pieces. And so that's going to be really amazing.
It's cool.
And, so
are you busy, or are you just like
do something?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the timing on some of these pieces. It's wonderful, and I'm seeing, like, with the casting and the transportation, everything's coming into play, and I think it's amazing that I can be doing a sculpture and have it airshipped for this event, and so it's awesome. Yeah.
My goodness. Well,
so cool.
We're going to be excited to talk to you more about Dante on the Friday show.
That's right.
And we'll pull this piece back up for that one. All I got to say is thank you for this. How can somebody, before we cut out, learn more about you, follow you, support you, buy stuff? Like, what do they go to? What's the primary source here?
Well, if you know how to spell my last name,
Schmalz.
Yes, then you'll be able to tap in as many different websites. I have one that's very, I think, appropriate for our next week's conversation is DanteSculpture.com.
Good one.
That's easy to remember, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, DanteSculpture.com, and that will bring you to the work that we'll talk next week, and also the massive other pieces that I've done out there.
Incredible. Well, listen, it's a real blessing to have this moment with you. I know now that we're not going to be needing anything else from you.
But
hey, but for all of you, if you are having trouble with the shipping cost, we can buy and locate, and I will help you out with your Padre Pio. No, it's been a real joy. Thank you to the Torpies for making this happen. We're going to be back on Friday to spend some more time with our buddy Tim, and in the meantime, we will
see you in the Eucharist.
God bless you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @, that's the symbol @, so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @the_BeatiDudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.